ISRO doesn't have caste-based reservations for their scientist recruitments. This is a recent job advert for ISRO scientists that I've downloaded from their websites. 11-page document, no mention of OBC, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe. So yeah, Rahul Gandhi, imagine Jitni Abadi, Utna Haq in that ISRO command center for Chandrayaan. Let's replace 65% of the qualified scientists in that room with lower ranked applicants from reserve categories. I'm sure that would be a very inclusive ISRO. But it would also be a ISRO that, forget missions to the moon, would probably struggle to even get rockets off the ground. Bihar recently released its caste census, the first done in a very long time in India. And everyone, political parties, news anchors, YouTube pundits are all excited about the political implications of this. Will it lead to other states having caste surveys now? Will parties be promising more reservations? Will they push back against the Supreme Court's 50% ceiling on reservations? Rahul Gandhi has already tweeted the slogan, Jitni Abadi, Utna Haq. People are wondering how BJP will react to this. Will they announce something on similar lines? I mean, it almost seems like political parties are salivating at the prospect of giving more reservations. Because if I could fully spell out the unsaid bit of Rahul Gandhi's tweet, Jitni Abadi, Utna Haq or Utna votes. And so as interesting as the politics of all of this is, maybe let's keep that aside for a while and focus on what this really means for our country and for our economy. And I have 3 points to make. First, why is it that everyone wants to move backwards? We are seeing this amazing phenomenon in our country where large communities are on the streets fighting for the badge of being called a backward caste. We have seen the agitation of Jats in North India, Marathas in Maharashtra. In fact, even the trigger for the ethnic violence in Manipur was when the valley-based Maitis wanted the scheduled tribe status that the hill-based Kukis had. So what does that say about the country when more and more communities are thinking that the way forward is to be called backwards? It says that maybe this has gone from being a caste problem to an economy problem. An economy that is struggling to fulfill the aspirations of its youth. In today's day and age, if we are still attaching such a huge premium to a sarkari job, that is indirectly telling you that the economy is struggling to create high quality, high paying jobs. If people are fighting for the right to a handful of seats in a handful of quality institutions that we currently have, it indirectly means that we are struggling to skill our population. Same problem, by the way, is reflected in India being one of the world's largest exporters of labor. There's literally a cottage industry of agencies that will arrange for you to migrate abroad, be it by hook or by crook. To give you a sense of how skewed our labor market is, look, typically the more economic development there is in a country, the higher is the proportion of salaried workers. Now for India, government's own figures suggest that this is only a little over 20% of our workforce. The remaining bulk is either self-employed or casually employed or employed as household helps, basically and mostly in the informal sector. 44% of our workforce is in agriculture. Another 12% is in construction, 12% in trade. That's close to 70% of our population trapped for decades in sectors that aren't well paying, where labor productivity is really low. So you can see RBI's data on this. Look at the red, black, grey lines. That's where 70% of our workforce is employed. And look how the labor productivity there is compared to other services sectors. So people are essentially being employed in jobs where the skills, the sophistication, the money is quite low. So it's not surprising that every community feels that the only way to get quality education and the only way to get quality jobs is if they can somehow make it to the reserve categories. How to generate those jobs, how to better skill the population is somehow miraculously not part of the political debate. Probably because it's too boring. Probably because no one is bothered about asking the tougher questions on how to generate private investment, how to reform the economy, how to create the right business environment. Because that is difficult. Far easier to keep awarding more and more reservations by the stroke of a pen. Which brings me to my second question. Are reservations even working? And by reservations working, I'm not asking how many OBCs or scheduled castes are there in how many posts. The question I'm trying to ask is, communities that have had reservations, have they really been able to upgrade their socio-economic status? Are reservations really successful in uplifting communities? After all, we've had decades of reservations. I mean, SC/ST reservations have probably been going on since independence. OBCs from 1990s after the Mandal Commission. Isn't it a legitimate question to ask, as is the case with any policy? Is it working? Are we seeing any difference? So the Bihar government hasn't yet released the socio-economic survey, but I guess one can make a reasonable assumption that the report could end up saying that most of the land, wealth, resources are probably still in the hands of the minority upper classes. I mean, anecdotally too, we see these disparities in our day-to-day life or in the news around us. But doesn't that beg the question? If weaker castes are not able to enjoy the level of socio-economic mobility that reservations were meant to deliver, then are reservations the answer? Because you can't have it both ways. You can't say, yes, reservations are required, and then say, look, India's caste problem is not improving. Because either reservations are working or they are not. And if they are not, then maybe the solution is not more reservations, but actually more meaningful interventions at grassroots levels. Again, politicians across parties and states aren't really bothered about this. So there can be untouchability somewhere, there could be caste-based violence elsewhere, there could be genuine discrimination happening on the ground. And the standard politician answer seems to be, let's reserve more seats in IIT. And all of this boils down to the final point. If we are dreaming as a country to be this global economic powerhouse, that won't happen automatically. Typically, the growth potential of a country depends on three ingredients. 1, capital, so the level of investments in the country. 2, labor. And 3, productivity. It's a bit like a car. You can have the body of a car, you can have an engine, but ultimately the performance of the car will depend on the efficiency of the engine. So it is not enough to just have a lot of machines and a lot of labor in the economy. The machines need to have advanced technology. The labor force has to be educated, it has to be healthy, it has to be skilled, it has to be productive. But that won't happen if you keep throwing meritocracy under the bus every time you need political mileage. People going on and on about Jitni Abadi, Utna Haq. Here's a thought. Why stop at 50%? Give 65, 70, give 100% reservations. And then see how the quality of that institution remains. Because like it or not, any subject, engineering, law, medical science, is not going to simplify itself based on your caste. The 10th rank holder in an entrance exam will always understand the subject better than a 1000th rank holder. And so if you choose to fill your classroom with more and more people from the 1000th rank, then don't be surprised if your institution too is a 1000th rank. Take any global university league table. Our top institutions start featuring in the global ranking at around 200 to 500th bracket. A lot of our well-known universities in fact rank even lower. Compare that to China, where in the first 25 names globally, there are already 2 Chinese universities, Peking University and Tsinghua University. And ultimately, education forms the basis of a productive economy. And look, I'm not saying that reservations is the only reason why we are in these academic dumps, but surely it makes a difference when you are no longer interested in taking in the best of students or hiring the best of professors. And by the way, unless I'm mistaken, ISRO doesn't have caste-based reservations for their scientist recruitments. This is a recent job advert for ISRO scientists that are downloaded from their websites. 11-page document, no mention of OBC, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe. So yeah, Rahul Gandhi, imagine Jitni Abadi, Utna Haq in that ISRO command center for Chandrayaan. Let's replace 65% of the qualified scientists in that room with lower ranked applicants from reserve categories. I'm sure that would be a very inclusive ISRO. But it would also be a ISRO that, forget missions to the moon, would probably struggle to even get rockets off the ground. Because like it or not, merit flourishes in meritocracy. And the same applies to our economy too. So reservations might sound like a fair policy, but in our country it has turned into a convenient excuse by politicians to not have to deal with the tougher problems. The problem of formalizing the economy, generating high-paying jobs, actually addressing caste discrimination in our society. Reservations ends up treating the symptom, not the disease. And once introduced, no community will tolerate reservations being rolled back, regardless of how they might be doing relative to others or whether they deserve it or not now. And worst of it, it allows our elected representatives to sign away the potential and productivity of our nation for the sake of votes. And look, I know reservations are a touchy issue. Some of you might feel that I'm coming at this from a place of privilege that might be invisible to me. Happy to have that conversation. And if your thoughts on this topic resonate with mine, would love to hear from you in the comment section. For more such insights, like, share, and subscribe to The Bond Economist.